Hey, Dennis O'Brien back again on Let's Talk About It. We're greatly diminished today because Susan Johnson is not going to be here. She is at the Capitol. She has been at the Capitol every night this week till midnight. And she'll be there again till at least midnight and again tomorrow. She's just going to have to be there on Saturday. I say, really, Saturday?
You know, I take exception to that.
What's that?
Because you have Eddie and I here today.
Oh, I have a great show.
I'm telling you right now.
But it's still, she's still missed. I mean, it's nice to have that. I like a show which has a male and a female voice. Mm-hmm. I think it's good. Now, you guys, we'll get to you guys. Okay, let me do my thing here. Okay, but I've really wanted to get these two guys on together because they're both on the town council of the town of Windham, which I admire and respect tremendously. And they're also hosts of shows on WILI. Bill Sayers is on WILI AM, but he's heard on FM as well, 95.3. Bill, your name of your show is?
On the Air with Bill Sayers.
I like it. I saw that on the website. It's On the Air with Bill Sayers. Very, very good. And we have...
I'll give Colin Rice a shout-out. Keith Rice a shout-out for that one.
Oh, I won't give Keith Rice any shout-outs. Keith Rice and I are in great big competition over sports. And he gives me a hard time whenever the Red Sox beat the Cardinals, and they swept them early in the season, but now the Cardinals are doing a lot better than the Red Sox. Anyway, Eddie Rios. Okay,
yes.
He's been on the air for a long time.
25 years.
25 years.
25 years. Well, the college radio.
Well, that's good.
That's radio.
Yeah, and then I was AM in Hartford. I was doing a radio station over there.
He is known as DJ Chuck.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but I call him Eddie. I call him Edelmiro, which is his real name. But I tell you what, I looked him up on the internet and I found a lot of guys with the name Edelmiro. It's not. It's a common name. When I was called Dennis when I was a little kid, I didn't know any other Dennises, and I was pissed that I had a name Dennis. I wanted to be John, like my father, but they decided they didn't want a junior. So,
well, that happened to me too because my father's name is Edelmiro too.
Okay, so you're a junior,
not a junior,
not a junior.
Not a junior.
The same middle initial.
Yeah.
Okay, I've seen that happen before. Anyway, it's great to have you guys on. Who are councilors, I like to call you, and also showmen on WILI. And we've got another showman here with us.
Oh, yes, we do.
Who is, Bill calls him what?
The Sultan of Radio.
I don't know about the Sultan of Radio.
He is. Matt Rupar.
Well, I'll tell you what, we couldn't do our show. Eddie can probably run the board, right?
Yeah, I could,
Do you run the board?
Yeah.
Yeah, see that? I can't do that. 25 years. Have I been on 25 years?
I could teach you, Dennis.
I'm at the age.
I don't want to do it.
Oh, really? I didn't know that. I'm jealous. I didn't know that. I don't know. At my age, I don't know if I'm anxious to learn a lot of new things. Mm-hmm. For what purpose? So I'm going to live to be 120. Anyway, James Matt Rupar, actually, is the host of the show that precedes Let's Talk About It on Fridays. That's right. It's a great lead-in to Let's Talk About It, and it's called Homegrown.
And he has some great theme music.
He does. He has great theme music, and he has a great intro from the guy who was the big boss down here at the station, Art Roboth. And Art does a great job. It's a great. Did he just ad-lib that, or
I think so? Yeah.
He ad-libbed it. It's really good. I heard it for the first time today, and I thought he did a good job. Now, Matt, since you're not on the town council, everybody else here. Well, I'm not. But I am on the.
You're on this. Yeah, come on now.
I'm on an obscure board.
No. Come on.
called the Willimantic Taxing District Board of Directors, and we did pass our budget, but that's because it's only the city people voted. That's why I think.
Well, I not only that, but I think that the city people. It's kind of, I don't like to call it
city dwellers,
the city dwellers,
urbanites.
We respect and appreciate the services that are provided to us, and that's a big thing. We recognize the fact that we have an outstanding police and fire department, and we're willing to pay for it.
Mm-hmm. It's funny. I always look at analyze the vote after there's an election, whether it's an election for public officials or an election for a referendum. And they always try to compare which parts of the town voted which way. And before I saw the results, I assumed that the police and fire is what brought up the vote for the Wyndhams. For the Wyndham budget in Willimantic.
Yes.
But you guys did very well in Willimantic, and it was 5 votes either way. So you were very consistent with police and fire. So, I think the people in Willimantic were smart on election day. I think they voted the right way, and if only Willimantic voted, we would have had a passed budget. And I think the Board of Ed budget would have passed too.
Well, I think the Board of Ed budget unfortunately went down by a lot more than
Oh, it did.
we anticipated. Last year it was 20 votes, and that they won by, and this year it was a lot more.
Well,
So I'm disappointed in that. I have to confess, I'm disappointed that the general government budget lost as well. Eddie and I have been talking about that, and
26 votes. That's all. I think.
Where do we go from here?
Yeah, well, that's you're going to have to figure that out. I mean, the taxing district board, we're done with that. We set a mill rate the other night, which was the same mill rate we proposed when we set our budget. So it's it's fairly low, but it is it means the people in the city pay a lot more because we have police and fire.
Eddie's been expressing it, and asking the people of Wyndham, what do you want? Where do you want us to go?
Yeah. I'll keep letting everybody know on social media what's going on, but everybody worry about their taxes going up, their increase.
Well, you know what happened? The taxes went up last time a lot.
Oh yeah.
And there was a reason for that. One reason was in the years that I was on the council, and I've been off it now for about 4 years. I was there for 6 years. I didn't want to go on there, but my wife urged me to go on, and I'm glad I was on there. And we did a lot of good things. We passed, we did a lot of building. Okay, we did the community center, the Shabu stage, the downtown parking garage, and also the renovation of the school, because people don't understand this. Not everybody knows this, but the school is not owned by the Board of Ed. It's owned by the town. And so the town council really has to approve any kind of an application to improve the school. So we did that, and I think what happened was property values went way up. They went way up. There are houses that were selling, because I look at the, ever since I was judge of probate, I look at the sales, and you guys probably do too, and they're in the paper. And there are houses that were selling for $75,000, $85,000 4 or 5 years ago that are now selling for over $200,000. So that's a big change. Mm-hmm. So people have added a lot of value, and that, of course, made their, the mill rate has to be applied to your value, and that made their taxes go up.
Hey, there's a house right down the street from me. I'm hoping it affects my value some more. $600,000.
Oh, I know.
And these, and the taxes go with it, unfortunately.
Yeah. Well, that's right. In order to benefit from it, you'd have to sell.
Yep.
Or your heirs would have to sell. In my case, because I'm probably not going to move out of my house, but I'll bet when it is sold eventually, and I probably won't be around, it'll bring a tidy sum up on Bolivia Street with 2 1/4 acres of land.
Yep.
So I think that was something that was good for the town, because I think it made a lot of people who live out of town want to move here. And so there was a lot of pressure in the real estate market for people wanted to buy, so that pushes the price up. And that's where we are. So you guys are on town council now in a pretty tough time. You got to get a budget passed in combination with the Board of Finance.
Well, Eddie and I worked, I think, diligently on this budget. I was pleased that we came in at even less than the budget was last year.
Yeah.
I'm not happy that we had to eliminate some positions. But we came together as a group and realized that this is what we had to do. And so I don't know now where to go without eliminating more positions, or do we eliminate departments? So this is all something that the town council and the Board of Finance are going to have to get together and discuss.
Well, my opinion is that if you only lose by 26 votes townwide, your budget is probably pretty good. And if we can somehow get everybody together and get out and work the budget really hard, knock on doors, do all kinds of stuff, get all of the people who are all supportive and understand that we really need to pass the budget, We might be able to pass the same budget you put out there before. That's a possibility. Anyway, but that's for you guys to decide, not for me.
Yeah,
And
could be.
you know, so anyway, but let's talk a little bit about your shows. And again, I want to get Matt Rupar into this discussion with his show, because all of us, all four of us, we have a show. And there was a time when the only show on here was Let's Talk About It. That was in 1998. That was Susan and Al Giordano.
Oh, yes.
Say Al
yes.
Gianfrido, who
Yeah.
made a great catch off Joe DiMaggio in the 48 World Series. Al Giordano.
Yep.
But anyway, let's talk about, Eddie, talk about your career as a DJ and how it started and what you've done.
Well, I started when I was in high school, DJing local parties. I had a DJ friend that used to DJ all the time. I used to carry his equipment. I was, the backup boy, you could say.
Yeah. That's how you learned.
So that's how I started. I started helping him out, and then I started using his equipment and doing my own parties. And then from there on, I just kept doing parties and parties. And then there was an opportunity to do a college radio station that a friend of mine was doing a show. So I went with him, and I started doing that with him.
Was that in the Doll?
Nah, WECS.
Oh, WECS.
I started doing WECS.
Oh, that was on the Eastern.
Yeah. So I started doing college radio
Wasn't
there.
Roberto Nadal on WECS?
Mhm.
Okay, but that was a different show.
And Pimpy.
Yeah.
Pimpy, he had a radio show here in the mornings.
He was a DJ too.
Yeah, he was a DJ in the morning.
That's right.
So I started helping them out. So from there on, I just kept going.
Let me ask you something. I mean, I don't know anything about I know a lot about music. I can't play an instrument, but I love music. And Rupar will attest to that. But my musical taste and Rupar's are not the same. Sometimes there's a little overlap, but not that much. After all, I'm like 100 years older than he is. But anyway, when you DJ, what is your equipment like? The equipment that you use?
Well, right now
You
it's
want to
all
give away
digital.
your secrets? It's all
Right,
digital.
it's all digital
What does
now,
digital
but
mean? I don't even
Digital
know.
computerized.
Okay.
So everything is on your hard drive and more easier. All your folders.
Yeah.
You put on all your music in your computer.
Yeah.
And all you have is your files.
I've seen you adjust your playlist from your phone.
That too, you could download songs on that. So it depends what kind of DJ you want to be. There's DJ that mix. There's DJs that just play music.
Tell me about what I used to see these guys that would play records, and they would play around with the record.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't see how you could do that and make it sound,
But it takes practice.
It must.
Take
'cause
practice. You gotta know.
where-
You gotta have your music organized. You gotta know what music to play when and what match with what songs, to be able to blend it in.
Yeah,
So-
because if you don't, it'll sound awful.
Yeah, it sounds awful.
It'll sound hellacious.
Mm-hmm.
Rupert, do you know anything about that? You know how to do that?
No, I don't.
You don't know. You don't do that.
No.
He don't,
Okay,
he don't
okay.
scratch or anything.
I've seen
I
these
love
guys.
records, but I mean,
I've seen these guys doing that. I would think you'd ruin the damn record.
I'm afraid to I have a large record collection. I'm afraid to scratch them. So
A large personal collection.
Yeah.
Not only that, you gotta have a professional needle on the record to be able to scratch.
Yeah. So it's got to be. What does a professional needle cost?
I don't know. It's cheap now. I mean, back then it probably was a couple $100.
When they first came out.
The
Yeah.
record player I have, I spent $300 on my needle.
Yeah, I had
so-
techniques.
Yeah.
Techniques, yeah.
I scratched a lot of records in my day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well,
broke
Bill,
them-
I don't know
you
if
broke
Bill
them?
goes back far enough to.
I didn't purposely scratch them, but I scratched them.
Right. Well, you put the needle on there, and my first records were 78s.
No.
They were you know what a 78
The
is?
small ones, yeah.
It's
Oh,
a
yeah.
platter, and it hits the ground and crash, it breaks. So my first record I ever had that was a musical, pop music, was Elvis Presley record. It was Heartbreak Hotel, his first big hit, and I was the one on the other side. So I was my mother bought it for me. She was pretty cool with music. She bought me my first Bob Dylan record a few years later. And actually, Dylan and Presley are really not that far apart. Mm-hmm. You'd think so, but it was just Dylan came around in 62, 63. Presley was in 56, maybe 57. But when I heard Presley, I was like, wow, this is great. Instead of listening to the stuff that my parents were listening to. But music changes all the time. It changes all the time, and the way it's presented changes all the time. But I remember seeing on some shows on TV these guys working these records like with their hands and scratching them, and I said, "My God, how do you do that?" So you know how to do that?
Mm-hmm.
Do you ever do that on the air?
Well, right now I'm not dealing with records. It's only
okay.
digital. But yeah,
Digital,
you can
yeah,
scratch
yeah,
on digital too.
You can?
Yeah, you can.
Oh,
It
boy.
won't sound like it was before with records. It sound different, but
Yeah.
you can scratch on digital.
See that? Learn something new every day.
Well, that's why I have the show. I mean, I've listened to some of Bill's shows, by the way, on the, you have the podcast. And I think you're doing a great job. I'm impressed.
Thank you.
I think you've had some pretty good guests on, but I think there's one guest you could have on that would really be good on your show.
Would that be you?
It might be.
Yeah, I was thinking,
I was thinking of Susan Johnson.
I was
actually,
thinking, that I would have the two of you after the session was over.
Oh no, just have us one at a time. I mean,
And
Susan will do all the talking that night.
Well, she does. Yeah, she does. She's in Hartford, doesn't hear me, so we're safe.
No. She'll listen though.
Oh, she will.
She gets
Okay.
a copy of this. and
Susan,
she
we
puts it
love
on
you.
her,
We love you, Susan. You know that. Yeah. And yeah. Now this summer, you got a birthday coming up again, don't you?
Yeah. Every once a year.
Yeah, once a year.
July
It's
17th.
July, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think you should have a fundraiser.
You're going to be what, 35 this year?
A little bit older than that.
A little bit older. Okay,
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
No, I really enjoy doing the show. I got to tell you, Matt's a big help.
Oh,
you know?
the Sultan. Yeah.
Yeah, the Sultan of Radio,
The Sultan of
and
Swing.
I've got some good guests coming up. This coming Monday will be the assistant rec director is coming on, talk about summer programming.
Who was that? Okay, I stumped
Yes,
you.
you're going to ask me her
Stumped
name,
the
aren't you?
panel.
Yeah, she's coming.
You're not
And
talking about Debbie Fisk.
No, her assistant.
She's the director.
Yeah, she's the director. Her assistant, Debbie, couldn't make it, so.
You remember when Debbie played for UConn?
Oh yeah, I do.
Debbie Bayer.
Yep.
Her name was.
Yeah, and then I think it's June 16th. We're going to have the president of Wyndham Hospital on, Donna Handley,
Yeah, we've had her.
and we're going to talk about a lot of different things. My son is operations manager with Hartford Healthcare.
Colin?
So yes,
Great.
so I hear
Haven't seen Colin in a long
I got
time.
get a lot of good information.
Yeah.
And I'm also waiting to hear back from Eversource. I'm going to have a guest come down from Eversource to talk about providing electricity and the costs.
I know somebody who works for Eversource.
Yeah, I do too, and that's the person I'm using to get my guest.
Really? Oh,
Yes,
to get one, yeah.
yes, to get one,
I don't think
yes.
you can get her on there.
No,
on
she
the
won't
air.
do it.
No,
she won't do it. I offered. I asked.
She's only been on this show once. I believe I got her on when she was chairman of the Wyndham Democratic Town Committee, which by the way, I didn't mention. Bill has a dual role. He's not only the member of the town council, he's also the chairman of the Wyndham Democratic Town Committee, following in the footsteps of a lot of very illustrious people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Including Joe Danahy,
Oh, good.
the
Lord.
late great Joe Danahy, Rusty Potter, John Spector, Gloria Morris, Al Vertife.
Yep.
Got coming up to now. Dennis O'Brien, Dawn Niles, Leslie
Yeah, no,
O'Brien.
we missed one there. He was a college professor.
We had Roland Fichette.
Okay, Roland.
Oh, John Deers.
John Deers.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, when I first became chair of the Democratic Town Committee, and Eddie, you're a member of the committee too.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I wanted to do an oral history of the Democratic Party because the Democratic Party has played a huge role in this town historically. The
in
Democratic,
Eastern Connecticut.
That's right.
Yes.
But even in this town,
Yes.
the Democratic Town Committee, I wanted to do interviews and tape them with, Gloria Morris was still around and Joe Danahy was still around, and Bob Mustard wasn't the chairman, but he was a major player in the Democratic Party. Ran for first selectman once.
Yep.
He said he always talked. He said I didn't win, but I tried.
He tried.
He ran against a guy that was a very popular Republican. Anyway,
Ralph Crossweight.
that's right, Ralph Crossway.
Ralph Crossway.
I think I knew
Yep.
I think his granddaughter played softball on my program.
Yep.
Anyway, Bill is the chairman of the Democratic Town Committee, and that is a huge responsibility. It is a huge responsibility, and that because the Democratic Party plays a major role in this town, and they help select the party helps select the candidates. Of course, you can go to primary and whatnot, but and then try to get them elected. And that's that's not easy. That's heavy duty
a lot of work.
competition. In fact, Eddie, I remember when you first appeared on the scene. I didn't know you. I heard from Yolanda Negron talked about you and said she thought you were wonderful. She was right, and she recommended you for a position on the town council. And I was delighted to know that you were interested because you knew a lot of people in the community. You had a very, very good reputation in the community, and that's the kind of people that we're looking for. And he's done a good job. And then he gets on the council. Well, he got on the council pretty fast. Right?
Yeah, I wasn't expecting that.
Did he go on with you?
Yeah, he went on with me.
The same election.
We're both newbies in a
well,
way. Not. I've been around for a while.
Yeah, you have.
Thank you.
Bill
Thank you.
actually.
Did you hear that for a while? Yeah.
A while?
Yeah, you can leave now. Your kids are calling you.
I would have to say that I am the oldest continuous member of the town committee.
Yep.
But Bill got on there. Bill took a break for a while. I got on there. When I got on there, Bill was on there before me, on the Democratic Town Committee.
I think I was 18.
Yeah. Well, you were.
What year was it?
Yep, 1976, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't get on until 1980,
77, around there. Yep.
That's right. You were on when I got on.
Yep.
And Pat Prue was on. He was your generation, I think.
Oh yeah, Pat Prue. Yep. Pat and I worked when he ran against Alan Mazzola for state representative.
That's right.
We worked hard on that.
Yeah, that
campaign.
was I think that's the last time we've had a Republican state representative.
I think
Mazzola.
so. Yep. And we worked hard on that campaign, Pat. I was disappointed, but then he went on to serve 20 years as judge of probate.
He did.
Yep.
He served more years than I did. I was only there for 12.
And
now John McGrath is going in.
Yep.
He's been there 14 years.
See, that's another instance where Wyndham was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't required when Pat ran to be an attorney.
No, it wasn't.
But we knew the importance of that in Wyndham. And and that's proved. That's why we've had such an efficient court over the years.
Yeah, we have, and I think there was a guy named Napoleon Bartolon who was on quite a while ago. I think you probably.
I know. I remember.
You must have known him.
Yeah, Nady Bartolon.
I think I saw him around, but I didn't really know him. He was older when I came to town, but that's right. The legislature changed that, and they made it so that you had to be a lawyer to be a judge of probate, which is, speaking as a lawyer, I think it was a good move.
I was fortunate, back in the day that growing up, I knew the guys like John Lesko and Andy Carey and Joe Mazzola, and these were all guys that were positive influences in a way.
Yes, they were.
And I was very lucky to have them.
Yeah.
They all played CYO ball for my dad, and I heard nothing but positive things. So it was good, and so a couple of those guys took me under their wing, and Al Vertife was always very supportive.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate, and that's how I got involved. And at one point, I confess, after my term as registrar, I was burnt to a crisp, and I walked away. I was gone for 20 years. Until I got a call from Leslie O'Brien, and she said to me, "I want you back on the town committee." And I said, "Okay."
Well, you stayed involved in a lot of other public efforts, and we're going to take a break now. We're getting the break sign from our boss over there, Matt Rupar, the host of Homegrown. Homegrown starts at about 4:05 p.m.
Yes, sir.
Every Thursday, and Friday. What's I say Thursday?
Thursdays, those two Republican guys.
That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. It's Folan and Doyle.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what. They're. I think I've listened to some of their shows.
They do a good job.
They're better than the guys that preceded them.
I have them on my show. I have them on my show. They bailed me out more than I can tell you.
When you're starting up, it's not so
tough.
easy to get guests. So anyway, we're gonna take a break now. We'll be right back after these words from our wonderful sponsors, and we really appreciate being sponsored by Gates for 25 years.
25
the
years.
Gates group, Denny Gates, led by Denny and Craig. And Denny does a show with us every once in a while about talking about the automobile business and the automobile market.
He was on a week or so ago.
Yes, he was on recently.
I listened to that one.
That's right. So we're going to be right back after these messages from our wonderful sponsors.
And here we are. We're back again. This is Bill Sayers. I'm on the radio today with Dennis O'Brien and Eddie Rios on Let's Talk About It. Dennis has been building up to this now, and so let's get started, Dennis.
Anyway, I wanted to talk to Eddie about his show. So your show is on Sunday. It's from 7 to 9.
7 to 9 on 98.3. Every Sunday.
The official one.
Yeah, it's the official one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you bring on guests and you play music. And,
Yeah, I play music. I give out news. Do a little bit of everything. I give shout outs to people when they call in or text.
So you have people calling in.
Yeah.
You have. Do you speak in Spanish sometime?
Yeah, it's a Latin show.
It's strictly Spanish.
It's
You don't-
Spanish. I mix it up.
Okay, so you're
So
talking.
it's bilingual.
You speak English too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Yeah,
So that's
why not?
yeah, that's cool. That's cool. So if you, I know you speak English, of course.
Yeah,
But if you had me on the show, you're gonna have to speak.
Yeah, I
English.
had you a couple times.
Yeah, you did.
when we did that
before,
interview,
yeah,
yeah.
but not on this show.
Not on this show.
And how long have you been on this show now on I-98?
It's been
made it to the big
maybe
leagues.
2 months.
Oh wow, you're up in there. You're up there with all these Pete Nichols and all these guys.
Oh, yeah.
My God, Pete Nichols has been there forever.
Oh, yeah.
And the I-98 people that build it can be heard on the website, right? You just turn it on. You can.
Oh, yeah.
They're on there. We're not on there.
No.
We're on there for our past shows are on there.
Yeah. I'm not important enough, So,
We went through a period of time when we weren't even on there, and we've been here for 25, 26 years.
26 years.
Yeah.
It's all right. You still got the Facebook. You log in. You
Oh
go to
yeah, I always
websites.
I put ads on Facebook for the show. I think that works pretty well.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought, I have people come up to me that I would never expect listen to the show, and you'd be surprised. A lot of people listen to these shows, and it's great. I think this is real. This is democracy. This is people in town having an opportunity to hear local people like him with his homegrown music, and
Yeah.
you with your, Latin show. Latino show, and I think it's a marvelous opportunity. Except, of course, you're in the big leagues. Maybe you can get a show on AM too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I was on 14 in the mornings. I was doing the show from 10 until 11 or until 12.
Yeah, I thought you were on there. 14.
Yeah, I was doing that, but then I wanted to expand the show a little bit more. So I went to the FM.
You want to get on FM?
Yeah,
I think that's
so-
great.
Well, you probably have listeners over at the university.
Yeah.
You must.
Yeah, I have.
You must. There's got to be a lot of young people over there who listen to your show.
It's
Of
a
course,
lot.
most of them are not there now in the summertime, but they're listening to the show because I know that the FM people take a lot. In fact, I bought ads for political campaigns, and Colin always makes it clear that we should buy ads that on FM as well, so that we reach the younger people over at Eastern. Because a lot of the young people listen to the FM
Oh, yeah.
station; they don't listen to the AM. The music is different. It's more, let's say, modern. I'm not saying it's better.
Quality.
Well, I don't know about that. I ran into a guy. Can't remember when it was. It was just very recently. The guy was Latino, and he said to me, I said something to me. I told him how old I was. He said, "Oh, you're lucky. You were able to listen to the '60s and '70s music." I said, "That's right." And he was a young guy like you, but he liked the '60s and '70s music best of all. With the Beatles and Dylan, and
The Beatles were definitely.
Crosby, Stills, Nash and Young.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they're great. I mean, you must have musical tastes that are relatively broad. You got to be, having been a DJ. You must have a lot of different kinds of music that
Well,
you
yeah,
like.
different genres.
Yeah,
Yeah. As
Yeah.
a DJ, depend what kind of DJ you want to be. For me, I like to be involved in all different kind of generations.
right.
So I prefer listening all different variety of music.
Yeah.
So like that, I have knowledge of every single one of them. So when it comes for an event, I want to be available for that person.
And you can talk about the artist too.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can say something about the artist. That's cool. We have David Foster on here a lot, and David Foster, he knows an awful lot of big shots in the music industry.
Yes. Yep.
Unbelievable. I mean, he brought the Temptations here. He brought Jose Feliciano. Jose Feliciano was here. I don't know if you were here when at the Shabu stage when he sang. People are crying for him to play Feliz Navidad. He says, "You want to hear that? You got to wait till December." I thought he was going to do it, but he didn't do it. I wanted to hear it. Everybody knows that song.
Oh, probably he get tired of all the time people requesting it.
Oh, I think he does, but
he sing it too many times. He's like, okay, give
well,
it a
he's
break.
saying he did a cover that was very popular back in the day of "Light My Fire," that the Doors did back in the '60s, and he did that. He did that. But I mean, we've had the Canned Heat was there.
Oh yes.
And he brought in some really good players, and those guys that he brings in. I don't know if you've been to any of the concerts. He brings in these the players, the trumpet players, the sax players. I mean, those guys are good. A lot of those guys have played on records for Dylan and Elvis, and but they're older guys. I mean, God, they're really good. And I think it's amazing that these guys that are like my age can blow that horn like they can do it, because that takes a lot of energy, but they do it. Anyway, I'm really happy about your show being on Sundays, and I was looking all over WILI AM because I figured you were just one of us, but you're not. You're just you're up there in the big leagues.
See the upper time slot.
Yeah. You got you got it made. You made it, man. You've been DJing for a long time, and you've done a lot. And at Eastern, you must have quite a big following.
Oh yeah.
And you're very good, Eddie. I got to say this: you're very good at using Facebook to promote your act, and it's very excellent. I think it's good.
Well, I got to shout out to Eddie too, because let me tell you, he's a hell of a good counselor.
Yeah.
He does a good job on the town council. He does his homework.
Yeah.
He's not afraid to pick up the phone and call you and tell you, this is what I think.
Yeah.
And he also does a lot of social media and reaching out to people.
Yeah.
We have a meeting again tomorrow morning at 11:30 at the community center.
Oh, you're meeting tomorrow?
Tomorrow morning.
I understand the block party was called off because of the weather
yes.
and because
the
of
block party has been
May
canceled.
and Susan won't be able to be there
because our main sponsors are going to still be in the state capitol
They
trying
will.
to put together a budget, and
Yeah.
the weather's not going to cooperate, so we've had to cancel that. But tomorrow morning, if you want to come talk about your feelings concerning the footbridge, we'll be at the community center at 11:30 in the morning.
Well, that's a tough issue.
Yep. So come on in. Tell us how you feel.
The cost of that is going to be pretty extravagant.
Well, I don't see how the town can do it themselves.
Yeah.
We're going to have to come up with money.
Yeah.
I mean, raise money from somebody somewhere.
I always think of that photograph that we've seen, and we've all seen, of Teddy Roosevelt in front of the footbridge.
Oh yeah.
With all
Yeah.
thousands of people surrounding him.
Thousands
He's in a
of
car and
people.
he's making a speech back around 1900. And the footbridge was fairly new back then. Pretty incredible. It's quite a historic thing. But if it's not safe, it's got to be fixed.
Oh yeah.
I haven't walked over that in a long time.
It's falling apart right now.
Yeah?
And one of these days, hopefully not, something could happen, and we're trying to avoid that.
Yeah. But you can't take any chances with public safety.
So we're fighting to keep it open, but if we don't get anything done with it,
We don't
We're
get
gonna have
any
to
money.
close it.
We're going to have to close it.
Yeah.
Because public safety comes first, even though 1,400 people use it weekly.
Oh,
it's
Yeah, that's right. You just did a study, right?
Yeah, 1,400 people use it.
Wow, that's a lot.
So
didn't think
it's
it was
well
used as
it's
much.
well used.
Yeah.
So
Well, it's a very convenient way to get over the river.
Yep.
It's, you I'm sure you use it. Yeah, it's not far from where you live.
oh no.
Yeah. So anyway, you are facing a lot of tough issues, and it's awfully hard when you get a change in leadership. You have a new town manager, and he works with us on the taxing district board. I'm very much impressed. I mean, he is a doer. He is not afraid to make a hard decision.
No,
And
he's not.
And he's very analytical. He analyzes. He looks at all the possibilities, and I think being on the council like you two are and working with him has got to be pretty good.
Yeah, it is. I'm very impressed with our town manager, our new town manager. I think
Yep.
he's doing a hell of a job.
Yep.
And as you say, he dissects everything.
Yep.
And when you ask a question, he's got the answer. There's no wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
He's got the answer, and I'm very impressed with that. I think that overall our leadership at Town Hall is we have him, we have Paul Hongo, and we have Zamara Capo,
Yeah.
and I think that we're very fortunate to have
Yeah.
those three individuals running our community. They do a
Right.
heck of a job.
Yeah. Yeah, I think so. And I think we have I like the people I'm working on the board with, the taxing district board. Unfortunately, Rose Reyes came to one of our meetings and she noted they were all guys on the board. And there's no women. And, so Rose complained a little bit about it. And I says, oh, come up with a candidate. And I think I have one in mind, and or maybe two. But
I have one in mind also. So
Yeah.
the Democrats, we will be we'll be meeting,
Right.
we'll be interviewing.
Oh, yeah,
we're gonna I don't want us to get stagnant. That's that's one thing that I look at.
Yeah.
And I do look at I do know of a couple women that would like to go on there, and I'm hopeful that we can provide a spot. Maybe only
Yeah.
one, but it's
yeah,
a
maybe
start.
I would think one anyway, but I don't know. I mean, I could be talked into not running, but anyway, because I was kind of wishy-washy for a while, and I kind of wanted a seat on the council because I wanted to get back there with you guys, but everybody's running, and I'm certainly not going to go after a sitting Democrat. No way, I would never do that. And I probably would lose anyway because, everybody said, well, gee. I remember the time when Susan was first running for the town council, so the board of selectmen back then. And they brought some of the old timers, Arnold Bocash and, the guy that lived, the guy that used to be he was a very nice guy. He was the first selectman for quite a while.
Jean LaRiviere.
Jean LaRiviere,
Yeah.
yeah. They came out of the woodwork, and they came out and they ran and they lost.
That was the year. That was the year that I stepped down.
Yeah,
And Susan took my spot.
yeah,
And I
yep,
I just feel like back then that she not only was she a woman, but she was very liberal
yeah,
in
yeah.
her thoughts. So
Yeah.
that did not play well.
Yeah.
So
Oh yeah, that's right. They wanted to stop her. And
Yeah.
Joanne Roberts had
Yep.
ruffled a few feathers.
Yep.
She was a very opinionated, very smart person who
Yep.
was very, very. She was very, very interested in the budget and making sure that everything was just so. She was really good, and I guess she worked for the town of Mansfield for quite a while. I ran into her up there when I was town attorney up there. But we've had a lot of good people that have worked very hard to keep this town.
that was a good board of selectmen back then.
Oh, we've had a lot of good boards.
We had Cora Moore.
Oh, yeah.
And, Neil Messick.
Yeah.
Joanne Roberts, myself.
Yeah, yeah, we had some good ones. But I was thinking that I can never remember a time when we didn't have a lawyer on the board. And I don't know if there was one on there then. Barbara McGrath was on for a while. And
was after me.
She was on the Board of Finance. I think she was chair of the Board of Finance for a while. Mark Shapiro was on. Remember Mark Shapiro?
Oh, I remember Mark.
Mark
yeah.
was good.
He was a
lawyer.
nice man.
Very
Good
nice.
man.
And
Good
a
man.
good member of the board.
Yep.
And he worked hard for the party.
Yes, he did.
We had
Yes,
some
he
good
did.
people, and you got a good group now, and I think you did a very good job of coming up with I said it on Facebook. I says it's a reasonable budget, given the circumstances, and the time to squabble about tax increases and the budget was a year ago, not
Yeah,
this year,
Not this year.
not this year,
No.
because that was, but that was those tax increases were kind of accidental.
Well-
Who would have thought that we were going to have this explosion in home values, and at the same time have a reval?
Well, Eddie
that's
and I have talked about that before, and you may not like the answer, but we've talked about the fact that our finance manager and our town manager should have been aware
Yeah.
that that kind of explosion was about to take place.
Yeah.
And
No,
we-
I'm
and we-
okay with the answer because I was gone from the
And
town
we were,
council. by
and we
then.
were assured numerous times by both
Yeah.
that we weren't going to be facing a tax increase,
Oh,
and
oh.
that was wrong.
Well, I told Jim Rivers, because I kept in touch with him after I left the council. I gave them a lot of advice on legal issues, and saved them a lot of money probably. But I still did after once in a while at least. But when I was on the council, I talked about legal issues all the time. It was hard for me to sit back and not when a legal issue came up and not say anything. Is what do I do for a living? I'm a town attorney in other towns, so I know I told him that. I said, boy, were you lucky to pass that budget? I said, it just mustn't have been a lot of information out in the community about what the tax increases were going to be like. And I'm not blaming them for it, but I think it would have been possible for that council to stretch, or it would have had to been initiated by, the leaders of the, not the elected officials, but I think the reevaluation could have been stretched out. I think it could have been postponed, and that might have been a good idea. But did I think of it at the time as a citizen? I did not.
No,
So-
we've talked about it after the fact.
It's
there's nothing.
It's
we
water
can do
under the
about it.
bridge.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right. Water under the bridge.
What happened, and so
Yeah.
now we're gonna have to pay the price, and
Right.
we're gonna work through it somehow, some way.
Oh, I like that. I like your attitude towards it, and Eddie's, and I think you guys are. I have the utmost faith in you that things are going to go well, and that we're going to work through this. I think we've all got to be a little concerned about what's happening in Washington.
Yeah.
But,
Well, I'm also. We talked about this the other day. We're very concerned about what's happening in Hartford.
yeah.
We're waiting to see whether or not we're going to get the money we think we're getting. And,
Yeah.
because that could affect our budget again.
Yeah.
Because Hartford doesn't know, because they don't know what's coming from
No,
Washington
they don't.
anymore.
No, they don't. But my impression is that, from what I understand, and I don't talk to Susan very much because I don't see her that much, but from what I understand, Matt Ritter, who is the Speaker of the House, who's a very sensible, very good speaker, is really inclined to forego the guardrails to some extent to make sure that people get what they need to survive, and we don't want to generate more homelessness because that affects our town a lot. We don't want to affect a situation where people aren't getting their health care, their meds, children, seniors, and I think they're gonna do the best they can. The problem is what's going to happen when we get cut. They get cut later on because it hasn't the so-called big beautiful bill, which is really
God, don't get me started.
a big crappy bill.
Yeah.
Is
that hurts every working family in this country.
I am hoping that the senators who represent states that are going to get hit even harder than we are, because they have more poor people than we do. Ours are concentrated, but they have in the South, in Mississippi, Alabama, Louisiana,
Kentucky,
are going to wake up and say, look, we can't go for this. This is going to hurt. This is going to hurt our workers. It's going to hurt children. It's going to hurt everybody who isn't rich.
Well, we're already seeing it.
Yeah, that's
the
right.
rural areas got hit hard by the hurricanes.
That's right.
And the flooding, and not a darn thing's been done.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's something to be concerned with. I've actually gone to a couple of demonstrations already because I think all we can do is try to make the congressional Republicans realize that if they want to cling to him and expect that he's going to get them reelected, they may be wrong. That he's not their daddy. He's not going to take care of them.
I don't think he cares about anybody other than himself.
I think I've said that on this show before. You're taking my lines. You're absolutely right. I don't think he does. Anyway, it's great to have you two on the show. I'm really happy to have you on. One of the things I like to do is promote other shows on WILI, be a team player, like Matt Rupar's show, like Homegrown, which is on Fridays, leading up to Let's Talk About It. We're a great night of shows, boy, on Fridays. And Tuesday night, I haven't listened to any of your shows live, Bill, but I have heard a whole bunch of them.
This is on Monday.
Monday.
Oh, you're on Monday?
Monday,
Okay.
yeah.
Got to get it right.
Listen, I start the week off on a good foot.
Start the week off
Yeah.
on a good foot.
There we go.
Okay, Monday from, you
4
got
to
the
5.
same time spot.
No, 4 to 5.
Oh, 4 to 5. Okay, so I could listen to that. I can listen to that in my office while I'm finishing up my workday.
Matt keeps me online and keeps me going.
Okay, and DJ Chuck, you're on from 7 to 9 on I-98.3.
Yes.
Okay.
Sunday nights.
Yep.
Sunday nights, once a
Oh, he
week.
gets-
He's probably still up at
He
that
felt
point.
I try to stay awake.
I
that
am-
long. Thanks, Eddie. Thanks a lot. Yeah,
I am
okay.
still up
Okay.
to greet Susan when she comes home at night.
Yes,
And right
yes.
now, I'm pretty darn tired because I've been staying up late because I hate to see her come home to a house where, well, the cats greet her, but
Yeah.
but I'm up to greet her. We have a little chat before the end of the day. And Matt Rupar, thank you so much for hosting the show.
Good to see you again,
You
Matt.
are the man, as Bill calls you, the
Sultan of Radio.
Sultan of Radio. That's a hard title to live up to.
I know.
That's right.
I'm trying.
I know you are, and you're doing a great job.
Yeah, 10
And
seconds.
There we
anyway, okay, so hope I can have you two guys back again, Eddie Rios and Bill Sayers, and along with Matt Rupar back on Let's Talk About It when Susan can be here as well. Okay, but thanks for being on the show.
Thanks, Dennis.
And good
Thank
luck
you.
with your shows, both of you, and also Matt Rupar. Thank you.